Hello, welcome back, and I'm very pleased to welcome you today. We have a very special guest. His name is Moro Yapha. Hello, Moro. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Harris. Nice to have me here. My name is Moro Yapha. I come from the Gambia, West Africa, a very small country called Smiling Coast of Africa. I left Gambia in 2013 to Europe. That was in Italy. I arrived in 2014 to June. I spent 6 months in Italy after applying asylum, and the asylum got rejected, headed to Germany, and arrived in Germany 2014 in December. So I am coming to my 6 years in Germany as a refugee or a migrant. As I said earlier, I applied, I arrived in Germany 2014. Upon my arrival, I had to apply for an asylum that has to give me or that has to grant me a stay here in Germany. And during this process, in the asylum camps in the lager, due to my experiences, which I had to go through, asylum process and procedures and all what I've experienced, which I would come to explain to you later on my journey. I have to engage myself, into media activism. This is to send the message and information of everything that I am going through in order to get into this. I had to be an activist. I started my career as an activist after upon my arrival here in Europe. As I said, due to those experiences that I would be talking to you or will be narrating to you later on my journey, and in the asylum camp in Italy during the 6 months, up to Germany here during those months and times that I've stayed in the lager. So my career started as a refugee activist. This is by collecting information, sending, narrating, posting, speaking about my experiences, daily life in the lager, on the journey, and everything that map up. And then during this process, I also had to engage and connect myself as a social worker. Not only media activism, but also social worker, interacting with the society, most especially the vulnerable people. Those are the refugees, my fellow refugees that are living here in Berlin. So, which I would explain to you later on about my personal role and functioning in that organization. But just to certain it, my whole introduction about me, it's an activist, political, social activist, and of course, an intercultural mediator working with a fixpunkt organization, providing legal, health, and social care to sub-Saharan Africans in Görlitzer Park.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, you just shed some light on your activism. I think you're engaging in the community in a very broad sense, not only communicating with people here in Germany, but as I understood, you're also one of your major goals is to communicate with the countries of origin. And I think this originates in your very personal story. Maybe you can just give us some insight how this, how this journey to Germany also influenced your activism nowadays.
Thank you so much. As I said earlier, my activism and all my daily personal engagement here in Europe was all based on my personal experiences that I had, from the Gambia on my journey or upon my arrival. So let me start from where I came from, the Gambia. I took this journey, which is called illegal migration road, as they call so-called illegal migration road. I left Gambia to Senegal, from Senegal to Mali, from Mali to Burkina Faso, from Burkina Faso to Niger, Agadez, from Agadez to Libya. So let us count Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Libya. So 5 different countries in Africa. I came across 5 different countries. It's not an easy route, as we all see. Some of us, mostly if you don't experience, you would be seeing or you would be hearing. So it is not an easy road. It took me 1 year. I took 1 year to complete this route, to get successful out of the journey. I mean, I spent some months in Libya. I mean, that is more harder. This is the much harder part of my journey, which I explain to everyone. I mean, Libya, me as a person, or as an African in that sense, stayed in Libya for some years, experienced so much brutality, so many brutalities, and so many pains and struggles that I've endured. I mean, compare all those experiences to the journey to Libya, the tortures, the humiliations, prisons and kidnappings, sacrificed my soul to cross the Mediterranean, of course. I mean, was just nearly to die, the Mediterranean, as we all know, it's just crazy, without expectations, I mean, I just found myself, in a situation where, okay, can't go back, but not what would happen, just had to go, either die or cross or get alive. So, I mean, thank God. I mean, I'm a believer. I have to thank God on that note, God saved me, So, I mean, due to those prayers, good prayers back home and everything, I was able to cross, but 15 people had died in my journey, in my boat, 15 people. So I'm part of those luckiest people who made it to Italy. So my journey took 1 year before arriving in Italy with all difficulties, humiliations, struggles, pains, and hardships. So this is why I had to take that strength and say, hey, this is not the reality which I had before leaving. I mean, things were not narrated to me this way. Why can't I take, a platform? Why can't I take a space and also narrate all what I have experienced? It's a journey, it's a book, I can write a whole book about what had happened. And this might change, the mindset of people back home. So I started my advocacy to advocate people back home about my personal experiences, in the journey to Italy or to Libya. I mean, to Europe. Yeah.
Wow. I would like to dig into your function as a communicator with like people who are before the journey or maybe back in the home countries considering to come here. Did you know, now you're communicating a lot about these issues, and I find it a bit alien to not know so much about, because this topic of the dangerous journey of refugees to Europe is very present in the media here. It's present.
Mm-hmm.
It does not change a lot though, but or at least I feel like the presence of this topic has not changed any law, many laws yet. But many Europeans, I would say, are informed very well about the dangers which a journey like this pose. How did you find yourself in the situation that you're like on such a dangerous route? Did you know about this beforehand? Were you like consent with the risk you took, or how did this happen?
I mean, as I said earlier, I think I mean the real image, of the road and Europe is not shown to the people back home. Maybe, I mean, things have changed nowadays because, I mean, media is so influenced. Where I came from, some days ago, we were living in a dictatorship ruling. I mean, in those days, media was not that much open, to the people to know and see the realities in those days. I mean, after 4 years now or 5 years now, I think things are changing gradually. But as I said earlier, I mean, those who came before us, were not telling the realities about Europe to us back home. All what they will tell is just easy. I mean, just luck, you just go for your luck. So God would help you, you go, you are lucky, you are there. But the hardship and what they experience, the difficulties, are not well narrated to us in a sense that we could understand. And also about Europe, the picture is not shown. So people have false expectations and illusions about Europe, that if I go to Europe, I'm going to make a life. Or before arriving, when I want to go to Europe, I just get money. Within few months, I am there in Italy. I would make it. It's not a difficult journey. Fat, I would just make make it Libya. And Libya, I cross, it's just easy. They'll think that, okay, you go into big boats, so you just take ships and get into Italy. No, you have to go through those dignity boats, and they are not well explained to people. How are people going through this? What are the real images? How are they treating people? So this message was not clear, was not even told, maybe wasn't even told, needed to be clear to the people. And then the message here in Europe also, the illusions that we had, before coming, were also not shown to us, wasn't clear to us. So for me, after taking the journey, I had to calculate after 9-10 months, 1 year in the journey, 12 months in the journey, I had to sit some point and say, hey, but what they told me before and what I have experienced are totally different. So the reality was not shown. And then after crossing, I came here. Even during the crossing time, people will be telling you when you are in Libya, it's very interesting because they will be telling you, it's not, you will just get, few hours, 2-3 hours, they rescue you. You will just depart from Libya, a few hours, you will get rescued by, Coast Guards. But I personally, took 24 hours in that dignity boat. So, what they told me before coming was not true. After arriving in Italy, I had to spend there 6 months in the lager, in the camp. So I know how I was living. What I was living was everyday pasta, eating pasta, sleeping and get up without nothing. So I had to see all this. So due to those false illusions, expectations, and untold stories, I said, let me create a platform. I started by creating a Facebook group, and in this Facebook group, I invite everyone. I send an invitation. At some point, it was 4,000 people in the group. So people all over in Italy. In Gambia, in Germany, all over the world, people joined. So when I started mostly by posting any boat that left Italy, Libya for Italy. And when capsized, I have info because I was in the camp, so I was doing nothing. All what I had to do was always on the internet to search what is happening.
Can I stop you there for a second more?
Yeah.
You're in this camp. Can you just describe the situation? How does a day-to-day look? You're now an activist. Now you found a, let's say, job for yourself. But how does the day-to-day life of an average camp inhabitant look like?
The everyday life, as I said, is just, to sleep, eat, and wake up. There's nothing you could do. On top of that, security and surveillance on you, because we are not free. We were in the camp, not free, so you cannot decide anything on your own. You cannot live by your own. You cannot have your own, privacy or whatever. So everything that you live is under command, under control. And then the living condition is like 4-5 people in one single room, 1 4 by 4 square meters, hosted 7 condition was really miserable. And so all what I had to do, as I said, is just going on computer, searching what is happening, what is the daily news. When the boat capsized, I write and I spread information. At some point, people even call to say, hey, do you hear any news about any boat that capsized? Because my son or family member left Libya 2-3 days ago, but the person is still not heard. So I could research and then tell them, some 3 days ago, a boat left with this amount of people and capsized. So I was doing this, which was really, really helpful to people back home, and then posting every information, and then not encouraging them to come, but of course, discouraging people about the realities and the facts about the journey, which might lead you to die. It just lead you to death. Yeah. When they ask a family member left 2-3 days ago, I check, a boat left, but arrived in Italy. So after 2-3 days, they would hear information about the particular person. But it's always, this boat journey is always like this. Before happiness is always trauma, because you are always crazy when you heard about someone, leave from Italy, from Libya to Italy. Before you laugh, you first cry. So it's always like you first cry, shed tears before you laugh. It's gambling. It's a game. Yeah.
I can't imagine the insecurities that these people are facing, and like also the dangers out on the open sea. It's horrible that people have to yeah, take their chances in such a dangerous way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to talk to you a bit about your journey from Italy
Mm-hmm.
onwards. Like, so you basically found yourself in a situation which you didn't anticipate. You found yourself
Mm-hmm.
confronted
Mm-hmm.
with dangers and also
Mm-hmm.
a loss of perspective, which you didn't expect at all. How did
Mm-hmm.
you move on from this desolate situation in the camp?
I mean, you know, for me, it's after taking the, the journey in Italy, sorry, in from Gambia to reach Italy, I said, okay, maybe, I mean, that's different thing. After arriving in Italy, maybe the movement of people within Europe, you know, wouldn't be that much harder, you know, like the movement of people from Africa to reach Europe. But after my 6 months living in the camp in Italy, where I had to leave the camp, you know, because I didn't leave the camp voluntarily. It was based on the fact that, you know, my asylum was rejected and Italian government said they had no control over me. I had nothing to do. I mean, I had no family members, or no friends. So all what they could tell me is that, okay, we are going to give you, we are going to pay a bus for you know, from where I was living in Sicily to reach Rome or Milano, somewhere Rome or Milano. Then from there, you have to go on your own. I had to tell them, okay, but I had no family member. I had nowhere to go. If I had to leave the camp now, where would I stay? They said, okay, they had no control over me. All what they could say is that, okay, my mandate is finished in the camp and I have to leave the camp. So that's how I left. I went to Milan. Okay, after arriving in Milan, I said, okay, now my target is Germany. I go to Germany. You know, I want to go to Germany. I chose to come to Germany. This is fact. You know, after this, everything I said, okay, I go to Germany, maybe, you know, expecting that maybe, you know, things are going to get, you know, better. I mean, things are going to be different from what I had to believe, you know, or experience here in Italy. And after arriving in Germany, of course, I arrived in Freiburg, but it was also difficult journey. To be honest with you, you know, in that part, most of the people forget about the difficulties people, refugees, you know, have to go through within movement of movement within the union. It's really hard. It was really terrible. It took me 2 days. It took me 2 days, you know, from Italy to reach Germany. I got control in Switzerland. I was returned back 2 times. No, you cannot come through here. You have no paper. You are illegal. But I didn't want to live in Switzerland. I wanted to live in Germany. This is what I told them. And then at some point, you know, I mean, I just had to sneak out in a way that I had to escape from them. And I arrived here. Upon my arrival, I was controlled by the police at Freiburg. And the control, they said the only thing that I could do is to apply asylum in order to get a stay in Germany. And I went through the asylum process and was registered. From Freiburg, I was taken to Mannheim, and I was living in a very big camp in Mannheim, as I said, with all those difficult conditions, hardships, and terrible conditions, living standard conditions. After 21 days, I was also taken to Heidelberg, and from Heidelberg, I was taken to Reutlingen, where I had to apply my asylum. That was my destination.
And how did you pass on? Like, did they force you to go to Heidelberg, or did they?
Yeah. From after arriving in Freiburg, after handed over to the German police, I mean, I had no control over myself. So all what I had to do to follow the authorizations, because I was also very new. I had no friends, I had no family member. I mean, at the end of the day, I also had no means of obtaining a permit. So I must had to go through those procedures in order to be legal to find my legality. So that's how I obtained it. So I had to go through them by, you know, it's just like domestic. If you are with them, to be honest, I would call it domestic animals, you know, in the hands of these authorities in this process, you are just like a domestic animal. They just pack you together. 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, you go to Bundesamt. I tell you, Bundesamt, you go there. 2 o'clock, people are there waiting. You go to Ausländer Behörde, 3 o'clock, you find people waiting in the row, in the line. So it's the most horrible way. Yeah.
Well, okay. Now you're in Germany, and you somehow make like your luck, you take your luck into your own hands and make it to Berlin. And here I think a new chapter kind of starts, because here you engage even more intensely through media with like different communities. And also you start in the recent years to work at Fixpunkt. Could you share some insights, like how the situation of other people who have actively is in Berlin, and are there maybe some major like aspects which you come through work, which you cross through work, that you would like to highlight?
Yes, I mean, that's interesting because, I mean, as for now, Berlin is my destination. So my final destination is in Berlin, even though it wasn't my first destination. As I said earlier, my first destination was in Reutlingen, where, I mean, I was given an asylum shelter and I was processing my asylum. And then back to your question, or forward to your question, I built, new life in Berlin based on the fact that I had to open my own platform, connect with people, network with people, and this is how I got my new life and destination here. Because during this process, I networked with so many activists all over. And one of the main, activists, I connected was also living here in Berlin, who was a big follower of me on media and following my stuffs, informations I post and things. And one day they had a program here in Berlin from All Plats movement. I think you might heard about it. It was a very big movement, refugee movement. He told me, we are organizing an exhibition here. So I found out that you are a very interesting person who is also doing a lot of things, in this refugee struggle, but you seems to be alone there where you live in, because we also talked before, he had to explain, invite me. So I said, yes, that would be very interesting. Here I'm living in the Heim in Reutlingen. I mean, I had no social connection here. I had no social network here, just to live in the camp. And at some point, I even had to be deported back to Italy. They wanted to deport me back to Italy. So I said that could be a chance, to come to Berlin and start another life, to build my social network and activism. So that was the reason how I left Reutlingen to come to Berlin here. And upon my arrival here, I was so grateful and thankful to find very young, young, cool Germans who hosted me at where I am right now, at my final destination. They were students, they were really nice people. Someone introduced me to them. If I could have a stay in their flat here, they said, yeah, come. I lived with them for 2-3 weeks and say, yeah, you are a very nice person, you are a very cool person, so you can stay here. We would build you a house, a bed and somewhere. When I was even illegal, so I had to stay in that illegality for 2-3 years. Beside that, I was doing my activism work, I mean, connecting, going, speaking at the platforms, going with my people. And 2015, I met these two guys who one of them who invited me, and they had the concept of building a media platform, that is Wearebornfree Empowerment Radio. And they explained the concept to me. I said, yeah, it's a very good thing. I am also doing media thing on my own. So this would be a good chance to connect with you guys in order to enlighten and broaden our activism. So that's how I got into Wearebornfree Empowerment Radio from 2015. And just to tell you, it's the one and the only first, African self-made run radio. So we are recognized by the Senate, and then we broadcast. We have 10 hours stream slot from 88.4 megahertz in Berlin and 90.7 megahertz in Potsdam, through Media Center Berlin and Brandenburg, MRBB. I think you might know about them. So this also enlightened my networking, to connect with people, I mean, to go for discussions, conferences, I mean, to share my experience with the people through the journey in the camp and social networks. And in 2017, I also got to know Fixpunkt, because I got to know that Fixpunkt is also an organization that works in Görlitzer Park. And to be more clear to you, or to be more frank to you, 2017 was the first time I deeply got to know what exactly is happening at Görlitzer Park. So I went to these people and I found them. They say they're an organization, NGO, they work with sub-Saharan Africans, and the organization started 2016, I think 1 year later on, when I came to got to know them. They said they provide legal, health, and social support for undocumented migrants. So I talked to them, and then they, at the end, realized that I personally built so much network with the people they are supplying or serving. So they got to the point that, okay, I think we would like to, bring you into our organization. We would like to employ you to work with us, because we found out that you are doing a very tremendous job, and you build, a very big trust and network with the people we are serving here. I said, yeah, that would be nice, but that was even illegal. I said, yeah, if you could provide me a contract, that would be really great. I would love to work this. These are my aim jobs, not only advocacy to speak on media, but also physically to do something for my people. These are my bros, these are my fellows. I was like them, or I'm at that time I was even the same level with them, because I had no status. Most of them had no status. Either they had status or I had no status. So I categorized myself in them. So having this networking and this concept and building this mindset of helping them would be very welcome for me. So that is how I joined them. They provided a contract to me. For me, I took this contract to Ausländer Behörde, and then during this process, I got to obtain my status. This is through married, by meeting a German woman, and then married, and then at the end we built a family. So from there, I got my status. At the same time, I got the job at Fixpunkt as an intercultural mediator. Beside that, I work at Wearebornfree Empowerment Radio as a media activist.
I think you're doing very valuable. You're in a very valuable position, because you have, at the one hand, you have very close connection to people and the situation in Berlin, and people who made the journey to Europe, who arrived here. But I would say most of these people did not expect to end up in a
exactly
to sell drugs. And at the same time, you maintain a lot of connection and communication background.
Exactly.
What can you the situation at Görlitzer Park has been covered by media extensively, and I think also from a very narrow perspective many times. So can you maybe shed some light on the way, why do people end up in a situation like that? What do the people, does their day-to-day life look like, and what are some of the hardships they face?
I mean, another interesting thing that I have involved personally about Görlitzer Park, the first project that I was involved was 2017 to 2019. Maybe if you check Google, you will find it, Other Homelands. That was an exhibition that was organized by one artist from American artist who I collaborated with. He used, me as the mediator between him and the people there in Görlitzer Park. So that was a very interesting project, that enlightened the image of the people living in the Görlitzer Park, in the other way around. As I said, the other way around means, media always portrayed, the negative parts about the people in the park, that they are drug dealers, they are lazy, they don't want to work, they come here to do this, they spoil their kids, they spoil the environment and many things, but not the other side of the people. Who are these people? Where do they come from? Why are they dealing? So that exhibition, dog, that left over that people or the media or the politicians, didn't want to talk about. It was very successful. It took 3 months. We did it here at Kreuzberg Museum, and thank that it was also, part of it was also funded by the district. And then it was very interesting thing. It went from political level to local level, community level. So it was a very great thing. So in this project, we went to Görlitzer Park, to face these people, to know them. And by going to them, by talking to them, we realized that, to be honest with you, they are very talented people among them. They are very wise people among them. They are very educated people among them. They are not stupid. They are not fools. They are not lazy. But circumstances force them to go into things that they are doing in Görlitzer Park. Personally, before talking about drug dealing thing, I see Görlitzer Park as a community that brings Africans together. We want to find each other. We want to allocate each other. We allocate each other through Görlitzer Park. If you are here as a new person, you arrive in Germany, you ask people, where are Africans community? They will tell you, those who are aware, politically aware or media, they will tell you, go to Görlitzer Park, either intentionally good or bad, but they will tell you, go to Görlitzer Park. If you go there, you find bros there. I used to go there. I'm a big fan of Görlitzer Park. I go there, chill with them. And then another important thing which I would like to, elaborate on that part. Görlitzer Park is a healing environment for African brothers, because this is where they come together, they face each other and talk about their past, their trauma, their post-traumas, and they talk about the past, the traumas, and they try to recover and heal from this by talking to one another, by telling their stories and problems and solving in a manner that is, carried back home as we used to do. So, that project brought, so many attention, about Görlitzer Park to the community, to the society, to the politicians. At the end, all what we had to agree, or we had to find out that, is the systematical pressure that forced people to deal drugs in Görlitzer Park. And among these systematical pressure is asylum laws, the Dublin processes, migration laws, and part of them, many, many things. That is all being controlled by the system that forced the bros to deal in Görlitzer Park.
Well, I think this is a really important fact to point out that Görlitzer Park is not only, like many people see, the place where people conduct actually crimes, in terms of selling drugs, but it's a vital and I think I would say necessary environment for many people who come here and who don't
exactly
find community anywhere else. So I think this is also an insight which I personally had and didn't have. That this park, that the value of this park was way beyond being a place to conduct business, but being a place of community and also maybe a safe space in a way. It might sound weird.
It's a safe space for them, yeah, exactly.
Although police is
systematically it's not safe, but societally it's safe for them, yeah.
It's an amazing So more, I think you're working, how would you describe your work? So you communicate with the community and also with people outside of the community? Is this
Yeah, my role at Fixpunkt is intercultural mediating. So by just interpreting into pieces, just someone who is in between two parts. So my role is not only communicating with Africans, but it's also communicating with the other people. This is the more important part, because mostly I have personal connection with many of them living there. So when they have problems, they call me personally. I have this and this problem. I want to see a doctor. So I also had to talk to the service provider. Have to talk to the service providers. Alone can't do nothing. Only what I can do is to mediate and be a communicator in between them. Which also I find very crucial, important, because without a communicator in between, mediator between two people that cannot understand, I think it's impossible, to provide anything for them. So I find the role very crucial and very important, of course, and I'm very glad and happy that it is warmly accepted and welcomed, by the people there. There is a big trust. It's also based on the trust that I worked on. To first build this trust and the relationship between them, and for them being trusting me, to narrate their problems to me and having this confidence that, okay, my problem is going to be solved. In the other way, it's a headache on me as well, in who is in between two people. Someone who is vulnerable needs something urgently. I mean, put that hope on me, rely on me to change that, but I cannot do it. The person has to come through me to someone. I mean, I also have to talk to this person. How can we solve this person's problem? So we have to find ways. If some of them have lawyer problems, we have a legal, person who is working with us at fixpunkt. So we bring this person, talk to the legal person. If it's minor problem, the legal person works on this and sort it out. If it's bigger than that, the legal person has connection to other lawyers and legal experts. So we connect them, and my role is also to navigate them, to bring them from where they are, because most of them cannot, navigate themselves. They cannot go through the arms, through the offices, or find addresses. So I have to go through with them and then do translation. You cannot explain the language. I mean, even though my German isn't that much good, but I try to broke my German when I have Begleitons, Otherwise, when not German, then I go with English, which is also second spoken language from where I come from, which is very easy for me to communicate with them. So it's always like this mediating in between them, dialogue with the people who are there, and then listening to them what they need, bring these needs, to our service, where we have a doctor, we have a social worker, we have a legal person, we have a social health pedagogic, we have me as an intercultural mediator, and other person, colleague of mine, as an intercultural mediator. Any problem that they have, we bring this problem into our team. We see who is fit, to solve this problem. The person goes with that. If it's beyond us, we bring it from our team to other service providers that we are linked and network with.
Wow. It's a huge network that you've built up. Like for me, as a person with the status of citizenship, how, like, can you maybe, because for me, going to a doctor is the most natural thing. I've got an insurance card, I go to my doctor, he wipes it, he tells me to sit down, maybe I wait a bit, and then treatment, everything goes smooth. I don't even consider that anything could go another way. How's the situation, not only medical, but I think many of the hardships these people are facing are like given things for a lot of other parts of people living here. Can you just give us some insights of the hardship people are facing practically every day?
I mean, the hardship that people, not only about their health, but it's also about police brutality. I mean, which is the most hardship that they live in. The police brutality, systematical racial profiling, everyday police hunting is I think it's one of the most hardship that we could talk about, that the fellows in Görlitzer Park face. Because it's like, okay, as I said, some of them are just there to chill, man, as just a community, just to meet bros. But as a Black person living in Görlitzer Park, you will be every day and night being harassed by police, racial profiling by police. Either you are a dealer or not a dealer. How can you even recognize a dealer? So we can all be dealers. So who is going to be a dealer? It's not written on the head. I mean, for me, I've never dealt drugs, I've never engaged into it, but I was controlling Görlitzer Park for several times, where the first approach by the police is that, do you have drugs? The first time they would do it, do you have drugs? This is what they would do. So that means that any Black person going to Görlitzer Park or living there is a dealer. So this is one problem they face in Görlitzer Park. Police brutality. I mean, police racial profiling is even easier. Let's say police brutality. Police brutalize them. And when they are brutalized by police, they are illegal, of course. What are their rights? So their rights are not also given to them. So this is also another important thing of fixpunkt working there, because when they are brutalized or racial profiled by police, we have a network where they could come to us, and we can also, direct them, to this organization where they could, report about the incident, and they could also find their right. We also connected with a lawyer that is 24 hours. When you are caught by police in Görlitzer Park, you can call this number 24 hours. And these criminal lawyers is also coming there sometimes, to talk to them, to tell them what are their rights in case of police violence, police brutality, what are their rights. You should not only say that I am illegal, I have no right, but illegality also gives them some rights that we could tell them in Görlitzer Park. So beside their health conditions, and status or whatever, police brutality, it's also one of the main hardships that they encounter everyday life in the park.
There was a lot of like media coverage about police brutality all over Germany. I think it was kind of swapping over from the United States. Anything changed the situation on the ground at Görlitzer Park? Did you feel an impact from that, or would you say, okay, we had this media hype, not hype, but you know, this media coverage, extensive coverage of the topic, but did it change anything on the ground?
I think I would not. I would say it doesn't change anything. To be honest, I mean this police brutalities or the protest marches, Black Lives Matter things or whatever had happened before. I mean, it just brought the attention, you know, to the people, to the community, not everyone, to the concerned people who are concerned about it. But systematically, it doesn't change anything. To be honest. If you go to Görlitzer Park right now, this very system that was existing months ago or years ago, the same system is there even more than before. So the police brutality, I mean, at some point, who cares about them? You know, media is also not portrayed. Media is not there to follow the incidents that are happening in the park. So for me, on the other way around, the media is backing them. Because one incident that happened by a dealer or by an African in Görlitzer Park, media is going to outrage it in the way that favors the other part. But police brutality is there every day. Police violence is there every day. Police racial profiling is there every day. But no media is there to put their whole everyday attention on things that are happening there. So, I mean, it doesn't change anything. To be honest, more precise with you, I see no change about it.
Okay, let's hope that this will definitely change through the next
We
year.
hope for the best, yeah.
Just let's hope that this situation resolves. And I would like to talk about with you about another topic, which is very recent, and this is the Corona pandemic. It has affected all of our lives. The reason we are talking via Zoom today is because of the
because of Corona, the one impact of Corona.
Otherwise, we would be here in the studio together. We would have a nice talk, maybe have a hot coffee afterwards or tea. But unfortunately, that's not possible. I think many people are pissed on the restriction Corona has on their lives, but also I think the trade-offs for Corona are not equally distributed among society. Like, how does Corona affect the life of people who are already in a very vulnerable position?
Exactly. I mean, that part, I think, for our people, I mean, me working in service essential, I mean, we are service essential workers, service providers working on the health, of course. I mean, it's always mandatory on us to address our people, our clients about Corona and the effects and damage and impacts of Corona. So since the pandemic came, me as a language person who speaks to them language, of course, always, you know, have to address them. This is Corona, this is that's existing, it kills this and this. So, but I mean, one problem we had in the beginning is to make them believe, you know, about Corona. I think they're not believing in about Corona. If you tell them they have different beliefs about Corona, I mean, at the end, we analyze the fact that, okay, what makes them not to believe about Corona? I mean, someone who is already vulnerable, you know, can never be scared of anything vulnerable on him or her. So this is the fact. I mean, these are people who are there, they're just vulnerable of other things they have. For them, what they think is more highly deadly or more dangerous than the pandemic, because they have been living in a situation that is chaotic. They live in one, I mean, as I said, 5, 7 people live together in one room without any good condition, without any good hygiene conditions. Many of them got sick, you know, without proper medication, without proper care. So when there is a pandemic, you know, I mean, that's there to scare them. It's never bringing them an inch. So they don't give a shit about it. You will tell them this, they'll say, yeah, Corona is there. They believe in the rules, they follow the rules. But, you know, but personally, on their personal health and security, they don't care about that, because they have all the problems. And on top of it, the impact of Corona on them, it's also limiting, you know, and cutting the services that, were meant to be provided to them. Because during the pandemic, we had that, we analyzed that we had, I think, more than 3 times of people we used to have, in our services, because most of them were working in departments that they had to close, so they come to Görlitzer Park, join their bros. Most of them, are doing some creative activities or things, that are connected, social connected, but due to social distancing and things, they have to stop and come back. Most of them were using, some facilities, example like social facilities or government facilities or other facilities that had to stop. They had no care, they had no control, they had to come back to Görlitzer Park. So it's like they are vulnerable. So another vulnerability on top of them. So Corona just worsened it. It worsened the situation of the people in the park. It gave them nothing but just to worsen their situations. And at some point, it even makes them not to even care about it. If you go to the park, you talk to them, they don't hear you. Don't talk to them about Corona.
Because they also have quite a chance to write to like distance regulation, as you said. If they're living together, 7 people in an unventilated room,
how can you maintain exactly
protect themselves?
Yeah.
Like how could you, like, you would just mentally drain yourself if you're, as I mentioned, if you don't have the chance to change anything about your day to day, but think all the time about the threat, it will make you mad.
Exactly, because the interesting thing is, if you look deep into Corona hygiene rules and things, I mean, these rules and things, okay, if you look deep into it, these are mostly not for vulnerable people. I mean, how can vulnerable people maintain social distances in their Wohnheims? How can they maintain such things in a situation like this? This is not possible. All the rules and regulations about Corona is not applying to those people, because even if they would like to, there's no chance, of them getting into those rules and regulations by protecting themselves. It's not possible, because the lagers, I mean, the facilities that they could rely on are closed, then they are driven out from there. They have no space. I mean, people take away from them. So on top of everything, it's racism, It also impacted racism in the society. This is what I mean, apart from all the situations, that they lived in, personally, I just found out that, okay, it just impacted racism in the society. Because if you are vulnerable, they see those people, example, those people I'm talking to you, those vulnerable people, they just map them. They are sick people, because most of them would see that these people are sick. They don't care about Corona. So they are sick. What makes them sick? Their vulnerability makes them sick, because you just see that they are homeless people. They have no care. They have no attention. So they are sick. If they see them, they run away from you. I personally experienced it. I went to an organization where I was talking to this white woman. I mean, I had to go with a client with me. The client was even like this. What is wrong with this person? So I had to put on mask. And I talk to this person, was pushing me, no, go. The woman had no mask. She had to push me out from the house, house away, like even more than 5 meters, and to talk to me without a mask. So would I say this is a Corona distancing rule? I would interpret this as a racism. So it also impacted it. So we should not only see the one side, I mean, the medical side of Corona in the society, but also the social damage and impact it has put into the society. This is very important.
Wow. So it's shocking to hear that the Corona situation not only worsened the day-to-day life for many of the most vulnerable of the society, but also increases racism towards people of color, towards people who obviously are not in a, I would say,
proper living condition. Yeah,
exactly. This is tough. This is really tough to process, actually. I think Corona has impacted all of the society in a bad way, but it just also showed inequality.
Inequality, exactly.
Comes to the foreground, and is way more present, but also at the same time it's more present, but also less people do anything about it, because, as you said, many facilities have to shut down.
Exactly.
And people are left without much.
So nothing they could do. Yeah.
Well, coming back to, you said before, when you on your journey to come here, I would like to shift the topic a bit more globally. Coming now, we have now this very micro perspective of the micro environment Görlitzer Park. For me personally, one of the major takeaways is that it goes way beyond a business place. It's a place of community. It's also an important reference for many people in Berlin. And now coming back to the topic of migration, many of the people end there because they don't have a quite reliable status here.
Exactly.
How, like a lot of people also at work here at Schlesifunk, we experience that many people face problems through the Dublin procedure. You shed some light how Dublin has influenced you personally, what Dublin is. Maybe you can just, like explain in a sentence.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very good, interesting topic. I mean, before going to global migration thing, first of all, the Dublin process must specifically on our bros, on the people who I'm talking about, Görlitzer Park people. Dublin issue has, I think it's one of the main factor to their problems, because most of them, I mean, I would say 95% of people in the park had to came via Italy, as I came through. When they arrived in Italy, you had no choice. Of course, in Italy, if you arrive, you have no choice. You have to take your fingerprints. They force you from the ship, you take your fingerprints. So, I mean, they don't care either to process your asylum or to give you, I mean, even if you are given a protection, I mean, at the end, they just give you by paper status, but living condition, I mean, to live with your status, to work with your status is impossible. I mean, they will give you and they tell you, okay, go to Germany, go to other countries. I personally experienced it. I mean, people were issued documents. They will be telling you, go to Germany, go to other country. But unknowingly that this document that is given to you in Italy is not guaranteed. It doesn't guarantee you to work with it here in Germany. They knows. I mean, people are blinded, so they have 5 years resident status from Italy. I have 5 years. I go to Germany. I work with this, with full expectations that I go to Germany. I could work with this status. But you came here. All what you what you found out is that this status is not possible to work with. You cannot work with this status here because this status allows you to just stay here for 90 days, 3 months. After 90 days, you have to go back to Italy. Subsidiary humanitarian protection doesn't guarantee you to live here and work here because of the Dublin process. I mean, you come again.
The relationships are here, so you can be fully integrated.
Yeah.
And also very good perspective here socially, work-wise, and they will still send you back.
Exactly. So back to another point, it's that you also come here, or because you left Italy, you have no status, they reject you. You said, let me go back to Germany again. Let me go to Germany forward and try my chance to apply asylum again. You come here with the full expectation, apply asylum, you go, they take your fingerprints. Within first 3 months, they detect your fingerprints in the Europe data, Europe data thing they have, machine, they detect your hands. Your fingers were taken in Italy. Your fingers were taken in Italy, but Italy failed to give you a protection. Italy cannot give you protection. Germany would say, we are not allowed, or we are not, we are not responsible for your asylum process. So we're going to communicate with Italy. If Italy allows us to send you back, we are going to send you back to Italy. And in most of the cases, this is what they will tell, but always you will be sent back because Italy is always there to say yes. I don't know. I don't even know on that part if Italy would say yes to it or not. But in most of the cases, they would be just telling you, we would communicate to Italy. If Italy allows us to send you back, then we would send you back. After 3 months or within 2-3 months, you will get a letter from Bundesamt telling you that you have no asylum here. Germany is not responsible for your asylum, so you will be deported back to Italy because upon your arrival in Italy, you gave your fingerprints and Italy is processing your asylum. But you arrived when you were forced to be taken, your fingers were forced to be taken. You were forced to give your fingerprints unknowingly. then you are there, your asylum process there, they reject your asylum for any other reason, I don't know. And the Italy themselves cannot take your responsibility. They would send you, they would say you leave, we cannot take your responsibility anymore. You come to Germany here, Germany will tell you, okay, Italy is responsible. So where's the confusion? This is misery. So that's why for me, the Dublin process, I see no sense why is Dublin case, circulating within European Union, within this Schengen zone. You first arrive in the first country where you gave your fingerprints, it's responsible of your asylum case. But you are forced to give your fingerprints in this particular country, and this particular country, even though gave you a status, is unable to give you a sustaining life in that country. You cannot. So you have to find a way to leave that country to go to any other European country. With this status, with this
legal what you do. Like basically,
yeah.
So you just to imagine this, you arrive in a country where you're forced to be registered.
We are forced to register.
Exactly.
And give your fingerprints.
And then when you try to like, and you not only are you forced to register, but you're forced to stay in a country where you don't have
stay there.
To build
exactly.
a life. Then you choose by yourself to build up a life somewhere else. You choose and you actually interact and you connect and you work
exactly.
a lot of effort in building a life. Regulation kind of takes you out of the things you build up and
exactly
back into a reality which does not give you any chances.
Exactly. That's how it goes. That's how the Dublin, I mean, it's just a crazy thing. It's not, I mean, the Dublin impact, we should not only see, I mean, on the status or just on by status, but we should also see it in the societal, in the societal concept, because it is damaging societal relationship that we build. It is damaging every effort we put. I had it, I went through it. I built societal networks. In those days, I was very integrated, going through everything, except systematic integration. Except systematic integration, that they failed. But societal integration, I personally talking to you, I integrated in every sort of integration with the German local, with the society, with everywhere, with everything. But in the systematic integration, they will still ask me to submit an integration course. I even have to do this. In few months' time, I have to exchange. I mean, I have to renew my Aufenthalt. And on my Aufenthalt, they wrote that it's obligatory on me to do integration course. I mean, but for me, okay,
it's just crazy for me to it's massive systems. On the one hand side, you have a perfectly integrated individual, willing to live a life and also willing to work for this. I mean, this is not someone who's like who wants to rely on the system. You don't want anything from the system, then just get out. And on the other hand, and you're perfectly integrated, you're working well with the society and the environment.
Exactly.
And the status prevents you from interacting and from integrating. And the reason of your status should be to be integrated somewhere, but they don't allow you to be integrated where you actually
They don't allow you.
Basically to integrate at another place.
Exactly. And then the funniest thing is that they don't allow you to integrate in the society if they don't see you having a chance of staying in the country. This is the thing. This is the fact. I talking to you personally. I mean, after arriving here in 2000, and I arrived, end of 2014, 2015, early beginning of 2015 in Reutlingen. I went to Bundesamt. Personally, I went to Bundesamt and I met this person at reception, talked to the person, and I told the person, I want to find ways of doing integration course. I want to go for integration course, just school line. I want to go for school, for language classes and things. She checked, by telling me that you came from a country that has no right for integration course here. I said, why? Is it because Gambians had Gambia was counted, I mean, in the safe countries, so Gambia had no chance for asylum. So being the fact that the Gambians cannot be directly, automatically be integrated, given integration courses by the Bundesamt Migration Office, because they are not sure if they would be stayed here or not. So you see the hypocrisy in it. I was denied in the first beginning. Imagine if I had chance in that beginning to go for language class, we would have been doing this interview in German.
Yes. No, but this is crazy because I think also the expectation, as you said, of people, and now coming back maybe to another topic, the expectation of people coming here is so different. And
It's so different. Yeah.
I would like to close the circuit a bit, talking about, now you told us a lot about the situation on ground here, about your personal journey. I think now would be a good time to come back to the communication aspect towards your home countries, or towards your home country, but also home countries in general, because I think also the expectation of the government, that people who risk their life to come here also fled from not for economic reason, but also many of the lives of the people who came here were
we have different reasons. Yeah, exactly.
And to expect them, just because they don't get the paper they need to go back to a situation where their life is in acute danger, is also, it is an expectation which I think most of the people don't need. I don't know, like, I think we talked about this before. This could be a major reason why they also end up in a situation like Görlitzer Park. Would you say that many people go there because they don't see another way to stay?
Exactly.
Connection, basically.
So I mean, it's like that. As I said, I mean, on that expectation thing, they had expectation from Italy that, okay, things gonna change, because I'm rejected here, so I have no chance to stay here. What can I do? I go to Germany. I mean, of course, let's praise Germany. It's a superpower country. Why can't German take this, that we are superpower? So before staying in Germany, I mean, Italians themselves will be telling, people working there will be telling you, hey, go to Germany. You make good life there. So they even encourage you to come here. So you come here either having a status or not having a status. You have this expectation to come here, to go to school, to learn the language, I mean, to do something or to work and to get, be self-sufficient without depending on government. But you came here, those expectations fall apart because you have a status. You are not allowed to work with this status here. You are only allowed to live here touristic only for 3 months. You cannot work. So there's no chance for you. Or you came here, you applied because you are forced to give your fingerprint in Italy to apply asylum, is rejected. You left, you came here. So your asylum would not be accepted. Now you are threatened to be deported back. What are you going to do? The only thing they could do is just to come here and to join their fellows who were here before them, to show them the chances. We were here before you. We also had to face the same thing you are facing. We had no chance. The only chance you could get here is you have a kid with a German woman, or you marry a German or a European who has a European passport. This is the only thing that can obtain you a permit. Or they would be telling you, I mean, on the other hand, Ausbildung. Of course, you can have Ausbildung, but there is a way to Ausbildung. But this way to Ausbildung is blocked because you have no way to even obtain A1. How can you reach to B1 or B5 to reach your Ausbildung thing? It's hard. You have to know how to read and write. You have to integrate first.
That is right. They deny you the access to the integration courses because they say you don't have a perspective to stay in the long term because of your country of origin. On the other hand, they say if you want to stay in the long term, get an Ausbildung, but therefore the German level.
Exactly.
In order to get the German
level. Yeah, it's interesting.
This is pure madness, to be honest.
Yeah.
Wow, and when you stand in contact with people back home, how do people react when you explain them this reality?
I mean, personally, I was back last year. I mean, after 6 years in Europe, I was back, and I went to the ghetto, to face the boys and talk to them. Man, guys, it's not easy but it's crazy, how this illusion on people about Europe until now. I tell you, I spoke with people back home. I would be real. I would be fact to you. To be honest, I would be real to you. I met people home who are working, who are living good. They are working good. They have no problems. But these are people who are having illusions about Europe until now. These are people who want to live that jobs, that work, that good life, and risk their life to Europe through the Mediterranean or Atlantic Ocean. I always have to tell them, don't risk your life for Europe. It's not worth. Europe is not worth, nothing is in Europe that is worth for you to lose your life for. Find other means. I met people who are graduates, college graduates or university students now, my mates. I tell them, I admire you guys, please, keep it up, man. Go for it, go for education, find something good. If you want to go for business, find something for startup, government supports or individuals, or you have a brother anywhere who supports you, the remittance. I tell them, before you ask your brother for a money, to give you to go embark on this journey, why can't you use that 2,000-3,000 euros or up to 5,000 euros for a startup business? You will gain something. So I never encourage them. When I went home, was always to discourage people about Europe. But until now, right now, talking to you, people still believe in those illusions about Europe. Until they reach, they can never, ever realize the fact. This is crazy. Yeah.
Well, so you say that many people even give up settled lives for an illusion which is not there.
It's still there. It's still there. For me, I mean, I always talk to people. I mean, I don't know, maybe we go back, we will come forward to them, but I just want to bring it further. I mean, last month, there were several incidents, both incidents in the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, Atlantic Ocean plus Mediterranean, and then I would say, I think was more than 700 people, almost 700 people lost their lives. And most of these people were all from this Senegambia region, Gambia, mostly from Senegal and other regions. So people hear the information, people heard about those information, they hear every information. So I doubt if the main television, the mainstream media is even showing to them. But sometimes I mean, everyone is on Facebook, WhatsApps, there are many means of communications and media channels, and people are sending those messages. I personally shared it on my wall, where there was a boat capsized in a boat capsized in Libya, where I think more than 100 people, and the second day, more than 70 bodies were washed or so. And those bodies were like this, they put them like this. And it was shared on mainstream medias. I shared it on my wall, and I was keeping on sharing this to people. Look, don't worth your life. It's not, don't kill it, don't. I mean, it's not worthy. It was just horrible for me to see that 700 people dying in Atlantic Ocean, or died in Atlantic Ocean within a month. Until now, people having these illusions about Europe. People are here suffering, living in hell. So at some point, I always ask people, how can we map this? How can we change the mindset? We have tried so many means. Informations have gone. I mean, our government's not concentrating on the fact, or are there, reliable, organizations or sources that are advocating? Okay, maybe we need ourselves, individuals, to go, who feels knows it. If you feel something, you knows it, you can talk about. We who came through, we feels, we knows it. We have to go, we have to take this trend and go and change something. But to be honest with you, Aris, most of us are also making it worse on them, because we who knows came through it are not also telling them the truth, the fact. This is also another problem.
Moro. Like how much pressure you said before that they part of them invest thousands of euros in order to make this journey. I mean,
exactly.
It's a lot of pressure. Even if my parents pay for something with like thousands of euros, I feel pressure to perform.
Exactly.
They would pay education for me. I would feel the pressure. Okay, now I have to graduate. But I imagine in countries where the general economic state of art is lower, this is a lot of money for.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
I think it's also a burden on the family to invest in money. What does this do with people who make the journey here and don't find themselves in the situation they expect to find themselves?
Yeah, I mean, that's also making most of people going crazy. I mean, people, how many people, had to go crazy, it's traumatic, they go traumatized, they go psychological crazy because, I mean, family, had to spend a lot of money, I mean, I mean, I came from a community or society where people even sell all their properties for their people, you know, to send their sons, you know, they send their sons to Europe, to then send their people to Europe. They sell everything, every belonging, everything that family has, with the expectation that this person is going to make it. Imagine you sell a property that costs 10,000 euros, you know, and you spend this on someone. I know people who are kidnapped in Libya who had to pay 2,000 euros to kidnappers. That's only just kidnapping you. How much would you spend? How much would you pay for your boat trip? So at the end, you spend more thousands of euros. And mostly these thousands of euros are either given to you by your family back home selling property, or being given to you by people here through the remittance that they send home. I mean, so you come here, you also feel pressure that, you know, I am used by family, you know, to fulfill something for them. And family sold everything: mothers, brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, brought their properties together. They sold everything and put the expense together. You are our first son. We have been living this situation, horrible situation. We want to change. Could you go? Could we send you to Europe? I mean, there's pressure. You take the risk. You come. You arrive. So if you,
I think it was the internet connection which just broke down.
yeah. Mm.
We were talking about that many people come here with like a lot of pressure from their families.
Pressure from the family, exactly, of what they have spent on them. Mm.
And how does this affect the communication back to the home countries?
I mean, it affects something because, as I said, it's always like that's what I was explaining, and the internet interruption happened. Family gave you amount of money. I mean, that you had to recover. I mean, to support the family, you came here. As I said, you live in a back home. I mean, in the lager where you receive not more than 300 euros. I mean, which is not even enough for your personal living. Family calls you every time, pressure on you for food, for healthcare, for school fees, and for other minor problems. Every family member, you know, expect that he or she would get 50 euros or 20 euros or, you know, 100 euros from you. I mean, you felt so much pressure, you know, you feel so much pressure that, okay, I mean, I was used, you know, by the family, and the family has spent this amount of money on me. So it is a duty and a task on me to fulfill that mission. But through this, it's not possible to fulfill because I expected that I could work and get something. At least everyone could send something, but it's not possible. I get money that is not even enough for my living. So what are you going to do next? I mean, there are people who came before you, as I said earlier, who would tell you, hey, we have been also living in this situation like this, but it didn't change anything. The only thing that we could do is this. So come and join us and get something. So this is how most of them ended up in the park. I mean, they deal drugs. Of course, they have to deal drugs to fulfill that mission, to fulfill that has been spent on them, you know, to pay back that has been spent on them. I mean, because it's like a credit, you know. So, I mean, you must pay it back because family is there to rely on you. Family are not seeing what you're going through. You cannot be telling the family that I am just sleeping home without nothing. They will be telling you, you sleep home without doing nothing. You didn't find others there who are there before you. You didn't see what they're doing for the family. But without knowing that that particular person they resembling you with is dealing drugs to obtain that or to do that, but the person is not telling them the fact. You know, so either you want to take the part of that person doing, or you will tell them the reality that I don't want to do this, I want to do this. But you feel pressure, and psychologically it affects them. I've seen them people personally who are dealing with the psychological problems, trauma, because of the family pressure and the expectation that they have been imposed, you know, I mean, on them, and it's not a way to fulfill. So they live like this, they go crazy. I mean, some of them even go, you know, psychological, totally crazy, totally, to be honest.
Wow. So this, I think this is a major driver, the situation that you come here with debt, but you don't come here as a free person, you come here with a huge debt that you took for the journey.
Exactly.
And I understand also prevents them from telling the truth to the homeland because the pressure is just there.
Pressures, exactly. Yeah.
to be success in a way, although they don't, the system prevents them from being a success. So they're trapped in a situation where they have to be a success, while the system
Exactly.
that to them. It sounds horrible. You said before, and I think this is an important part, that a lot of people you mentioned have taken the route to Europe and came here. They took the journey. My question to you is: what would you change about migration, or when you have like a global perspective on migration? Would you ask them to stay home? What would be your like? You have both perspectives. You have the perspective of someone who's back in the home country, really for a better life, but you also have the perspective of a person who comes here without anything. Then in the end, you personally secure the, I would say, safe situation for yourself. But this is, I would say, more the exception than the regular, especially coming from your country, which is considered a safe country of origin. So taking all of this in mind, what's your take on global migration? Would you say just stay home, or would you say, okay, we have to do something about the system? Last thing, we have a project here in the house where we compare a bit, where we are a bit shocked at how easily products can flow through borders.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is kind of weird, but I think this is like the illegality of like that migration is illegal for so many people is, I think, a major problem. So taking all of this in mind, what is your perspective on global?
Yeah, I mean, I have a very strong perspective on that, which I'm always, glad to share with people. I mean, that is always, I see migration has to be win-win solution, it has to be win-win, so it should be taken into, a system where a host country would win and an origin country would win. But in order to do this, we have to see it in two different parts. First of all, from my advocacy, I mean, anyone who wants, to leave from Africa to reach Europe through this Mediterranean, I discourage that person. And I advise every means and method, from us or from the individual, I mean, the government or from global migration policies, to put efforts to stop people from migrating through this perilous journey. I mean, I take this stance because, I mean, I know it's just dangerous. It's more dangerous than the wealth, So I see no reason why people should sacrifice their lives for Europe when it's not needed through Mediterranean Sea. But in order to make this happen, I mean, there should be a common migration policy that is allowing people to migrate, based on their wills. People want to migrate. Someone want to migrate. These young people who want to leave from home, I mean, they want to come to Germany. They want to study engineering. I mean, if German government say in a year we give, I mean, example, let's just give an approximate example of 200, let's just a small, just 2,000 visas to Gambian youth. And in this career, we have to see it in this way. I mean, some from engineering, some from IT, or some from other experts, things, process mechanism or whatever else they could say. I mean, they could go, there could be a system where, I mean, a person would go and apply for this system and get a visa easily, come to Germany here to study, and then having studied this thing, Germany is going to benefit. Either the person wants to stay here and utilize this knowledge in the first beginning, or just person wants to go back and then use this knowledge for the home country. So in this sense, there is a benefit in both countries. There's a win-win solution on both countries. And then this is also going to give, encouragement to the youth by seeing that 2,000 visas, okay, I mean, in this category, German government is calling youths who are qualified in this area to come here. I mean, last time I read an article where, I mean, German Interior Minister, whoever, is asking nurses or doctors or professionals from North America to come here in Germany to work. They seek workers, employees, from North America, I mean, to come here. I mean, there are professionals here who have some knowledges of that German wants to use. I mean, there could be this solution where, I mean, who wants to go in which area? If you want to go on mechanism, then there is a space and gap for mechanism given to this person freely and willingly. Freely and willingly, there is a gap for mechanism, go for this. Electronic, freely and willingly, there is a space for this, youth, go for this. So this would also put courage on people home to go for education, to see that in this level, I could also, you know, have chance to reach where I want to reach, but without Mediterranean road. So I think this is a strategy that we could use globally. I mean, so where a win-win solution will be, people leave from home, they come here, they educate, they have their knowledge. I mean, the brain drain, as we call it, brain drain, you know. I mean, there's a lot of brain drain here. I mean, there are a lot of Africans who are qualified professionals. You know, where are they using this qualification? They are using this qualification for Europe, for Germany, for France, or for any other European country. I mean, less they use for their home countries. So, I mean, migration should never be a loss for a host country if at all it is handled in a manner where equality is seen. But inequality, seeing that inferior, feeling superior over others because of their vulnerability or economical crisis and seeing, I mean, feeling inferior, this would never make it happen. We have to see that these are youths, they are talented, they have wishes, they have wisdoms, they have visions, they have everything capable to do. If they are given chance to go to any area willingly, they are freely and willingly, they are going to make it, but not in a system that says that you are an asylum seeker here, you don't know what to do, you will just want to obtain a permit, I mean, through anything. So you have no choice. You go for malaria. Someone who is an IT person in the Gambia sees him or herself being a malaria. Is this working? No, because the person is denied of having that qualification he has in the first beginning. So migrants and refugees are going through, you know, things that are not our wish, that are not our will. We are just doing it in order to obtain permit out of it. But this is not solution for the home country. This is where I see. Let's do something that can benefit the host country and give the credit back to the origin country. If we do this global migration, fair global migration policies, we have to do it, fair global migration policy. If this is happening, I think migration would be easy. And these Mediterranean routes and all these deadly routes would be tarnished, because there will be hope on the people that, okay, I finish my high school level, college level, or before university level, there is a chance for me to apply a visa very quickly and get this visa, go to Germany or go to Europe, America, US, and study and complete what I want to do, accomplish. But without this happening, I think it would never and ever be regulated.
Amazing. I think a major point that you raised was that, and I find this very, very important to point out, is that if you give people the chance to migrate legally and to
exactly
learn from each other, that could definitely like bring a huge impact on global migration, so that it is not a lose-lose situation, but
exactly
actually that also the host countries benefit from the exchange, that people come maybe back with new knowledge, with a new perspective, and we actually build like a common society where
exactly
we learn from each other rather than segregate and condemn each other. Moro, any last words? Our time is over.
Yeah.
We have to come to an end. Any last thoughts that you would like to let go?
I mean, so for me, what I would like to say, I mean, always my advice is always on the society. I mean, this is a very tremendous job, what you're doing like this. I mean, by giving a space, you know, to the most experienced people about the realities they've gone through, to narrate them and air it and publish it to the people to benefit out of this. I think this is a very tremendous job. So my appeal to the society is, I mean, let's try to go for the stories. Let's try to go for the experiences of the people. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't just see me as a Black person, a migrant, and judge me as the most stupid person living in the society or as the most criminal. Let's see that, you know, people doing things, okay, they are doing things based on reason, but but how can we reason that? We have to face them. We have to go to them. We have to talk to them. We have to approach them, and we have to know through them. I think this is a very good chance, creating a platform like this where you give chance to people who are experienced in any factors they're doing, and to narrate their whole experience based on the facts and realities, and then show this to the people to open their minds to know the facts about what is happening in the society. This is a very big step. I mean, if this is happening, society is going to change and learn from the facts, from the main. I mean, whoever listening to it would say, okay, it's from the main person who experienced it, who narrates it in this way. So the person must be believing in it. So the beliefs might change it in the other way around, where it could reach to the high authorities, and we have a change. We hope for the change. So this is my last point to each and every one of you. I would like to thank you, Aris. I would like to thank each and every one of you who is behind this project. I mean, I wish you all a nice time.